For all the updated information on the aerodrome and the Spirit of St. Louis and its inaugural public flight, check www.oldrhinebeck.org and also the Old Rhinebeck Aerodrome Facebook page. Back in the late 1970s, Cole Palen purchased the new standard D25s that we're now using for rides, and in amongst all the parts and pieces was one original Wright Whirlwind J5 radial engine, the same engine that powered the Spirit of St. Louis. It was then that he decided to build a Spirit of St. Louis, and now in 2016 that dream has become reality, and that engine is powering our Ryan MYP.
Up in the sky, fair or windy, he's flying high. Fearless, fearless, knows every cloud. The kind of the sun makes a mother feel proud. Lucky Lindy rides all alone in a little plane of his own. Lucky Lindy shows them the way, and he's a hero of the day.
Good. You're good. Okay, we gotta go fast over this stuff here. It's hot. Spark is set.
Well, we're sitting here in the Ryan hangar with the Spirit of St. Louis after witnessing another very successful test flight on a beautiful day. Sitting here with Tom Polapink, former director of Old Rhinebeck Aerodrome, longtime volunteer, works very hard behind the scenes to get this airplane flying. Stu Sommerville, one of our great aerodrome volunteers, again, works a lot with our vintage automobiles, helps out with the show, and is a another Lindbergh nut. Ken Cassens, project manager, great aerodrome pilot for many years, great aerodrome mechanic for many years, and a crop duster, which I always loved. Tag cat pilot. And it's just a chance for us to sit around and talk a little bit about the Spirit of St. Louis project, how it came to be, and where we see it going in the future. So we're just having a little fun here talking about the airplane that first flew on December 5th. A long-term project, a dream of Cole Palen's that Ken and the staff here at the aerodrome were able to fulfill. And made a few initial flights. How many hours you having on that thing?
Almost 4.
4 hours of flight time, but very excited to see it fly. And we said to Ken before, he's taking all of us up there with him. He's up there solo, but a lot of people riding on the wings with him for sure. So, Ken, what was your first involvement with the project? Do you remember speaking with Cole about it back in the day at all?
No, actually, I didn't even know Cole had a Spirit of St. Louis project. The first I heard about it was from John Barker after Cole passed away, and he said that Cole had started a Spirit of St. Louis replica. But, yeah, that's the first time I heard about it.
Yeah, he had started that down in Delray Beach, Florida, where he wintered and did a lot of different airplane projects over the years there. He got the right whirlwind engine that's powering the airplane, just like the original one that Lindbergh had when he purchased the new standard D25 crop dusters. It was one right whirlwind engine. And I remember when I started here, that it was pointed out that that would be destined for the Spirit of St. Louis. That was the first I heard of the project, but I wasn't aware that he had that one in Florida either. And then it came up here, and that one wasn't really, after a lot of inspection and looking it over, decided to start from new.
Yeah, Cole had tack welded up the fuselage, and then came time for him to come up to Rhinebeck. Andy Keith, I guess, knew somebody who was a welder, and took it upon themselves to finish welding the fuselage, and he totally ruined it. So when we got it back up here, we thought, well, maybe we can, find a few bad welds and correct those, but the entire fuselage was it was terrible. All the welds were burnt, and undercut, and it was awful. So we figured it'd be easier just to start right from scratch, a brand new fuselage with all new tubing and everything.
And there were plans available for the Spirit of St. Louis that were made long after the flight, is that correct?
Yeah, the Ryan Aeronautical Library commissioned Ed Morrow to make up a set of working drawings. And Ed Morrow worked on the original airplane. And so he did those up, and there were some things that weren't correct on it. But for the most part, the plans were pretty accurate. A couple exceptions: the rudder was the wrong shape, and the cockpit door and the windows were not correct. So we had gone down to the Smithsonian on 2 occasions, and they took me up in the cherry picker because the airplane was suspended from the ceiling. So got up there and took measurements and photographs and stuff. So we made all the corrections with the exception of the rudder, and I think this winter we're going to reshape the trailing edge of the rudder.
What did it feel like to actually be there at the Spirit of St. Louis, the real one? I mean, from a professional standpoint and from just a fan of Lindbergh's at the same time, that must have meant a great deal to you, I would think.
Yeah, it was exciting.
Were there any particular engineering challenges to building Old Rhinebeck's replica? And what was the most difficult part? Did it go together easy? What did you find complicated?
Everything.
Everything. Anything?
Well, I mean, the basic structure is, just welding and woodwork and stuff like that. But The detail work, like in the cockpit with the fuel system and stuff like that, that was all gleaned from pictures.
Wow.
Because the blueprints that were made didn't giving you that detail work. So that's why the taking pictures of the original airplane and getting all these photographs and stuff helped out.
How about the flight characteristics of the airplane? Is it what you expected? Have there been any surprises thus far?
No, it sort of handles like the Jenny in a way. And I mean, you can say it's unstable, which it is, but it's not unstable to the point where you can't fly it.
Right.
You can't let go of anything on it. You have to fly the thing constantly, but you do that with all these World War I airplanes. So.
You've done full power on stalls?
Yeah, I went through the whole stall regime.
Nothing too surprising there?
No, stall's nice. If you let it, you could let it go into a spin pretty easily, but it won't, it won't surprise you as far as, anything really radical. It seems to be pretty docile in a way.
Pretty well balanced out now? Is it,
Yeah.
Does it fly hands off? Or not quite?
Oh, definitely no hands off. You can't fly with hands or feet off.
But it can trim out pretty nice. And
well, the only trim we got is the stabilizer. So pitch trim is all we have. That's all the original had.
the little bitty ailerons, every time I see it, the ailerons look so small on that great big wing, but they're effective?
Yeah, they're effective, and the reason that they're so small is because they didn't want to overload the wing if you had severe input on the aileron, and the airplane being heavy, with all that fuel and stuff, they didn't want to overstress the wing, so they made them a little bit smaller. But for what we're doing, it's certainly adequate.
The construction basically straightforward, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the challenge was how did they do things that.
Right.
Well, originally, when the original was built, it was that was a hand-built airplane.
Yeah, it was
in a very
built.
short period of time.
Yeah, they had 60 days to do it.
And it was, basically built on the shop floor.
Right.
A one-off type thing. So.
Is it unique to fly in comparison to anything else you've flown here at Old Rhinebeck?
Oh yeah.
Okay. How did you prepare? Could you prepare to actually fly the Spirit, or is that the kind of thing that you're not really quite prepared for it until you do it?
Well, we had the Curtis Robin that the rear seat is very similar to the cockpit and the Spirit with the side windows. So we put a piece of cardboard up in front, and Clay Hammond was the pilot, and he was a safety pilot. So he was sitting up front with full visibility, and I was in the back just flying it like we do with the Spirit, so it was good practice.
There's a few other Spirit of St. Louis replicas that are flying. Kermit Weeks has one. I think the EAA flies theirs pretty regularly. We've been touting this one as the most accurate reproduction to date, and I think we're pretty honest with that, right?
Yeah, there's one coming along that's up in the Washington State. John Norm is building one that's going to be right on. He's putting all the gas tanks in it. He's even covering it with grade A cotton. Ours only has one gas tank because we're just going to be flying it in the air shows. It's got 55 gallons, so we would have a 4-hour endurance if we wanted to take it somewhere for movie work or put it on display someplace. But wherever possible, we're using modern materials. The polyfiber fabric process is it's a Dacron, and it's got a lot more longevity than the cotton dope, and it's also fire retardant.
Was that all that donated?
That was donated, John Goldenbaum.
Right. We've had a lot of great donations to the project, both materials and funding, by a lot of different people from all over the place. Tom, you started quite a fundraising campaign to get the project started back up. by going out and getting a few donors back in, what year would that have been?
Well, there was actually, I guess there were two campaigns. One was back in around 2000 or so, when Ken was actively working on the project,
Right.
and then there was a little hiatus. And to get it back on its feet again, we contacted, I think it was 12 or 13 donors who
Real
pledged some money.
enthusiasts.
Yeah, they pledged some funds to get it back on its feet, to get Ken back here to finish it up.
That was key because the project sat for, what, 10?
Not 9 years.
9 years idle with nothing being done. And those 12 enthusiasts really were what got the project back going
Yeah.
again. And then from there on out, it was pretty consistent work on it, as time allowed, to get it finished up. And then the last part of the air show season, 2015, September and October, you could see it was really closing in. And then the fabric went out in the wing. And then we really knew it was close. And then December 5th, the phone call came to come on out to the aerodrome.
That was exciting.
It's a beautiful day.
I couldn't help but think of how proud Palen would have been.
Well, you know, we talked about that a couple of times, that, you know, the stars were aligned.
Yep.
It was very close to the anniversary of Cole's passing, which was December 7th.
Right.
8th.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, you know, it happened to be
Wow.
very close to that. And then this great weather we had,
Well, that's Cole's doing.
it was meant to be.
I guess,
It all just fell in.
Yeah.
I mean, who would think you'd be flying the thing in December?
Right.
And so things really worked out, and it was an emotional moment for a lot of people here that, you know, the plane actually finally flew after all these years. And as you put, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into that project, and to see it go was...
Did you actually think about that the first time you got air under the wheels, or were you
No.
kind of busy?
No, you're not thinking about that.
Yeah.
You're thinking about flying the airplane, what it's going to do, how it's going to react, what you're going to do. And then, you know, once you come back down, you start thinking about all these other things.
I think Cole would have been thrilled to
Honest to
see the
God.
airplane fly. She certainly would have been thrilled to fly it himself.
Definitely.
But I think he would have been just as happy to be sitting along the runway and seeing the airplane take to the skies. And it's a great tribute to him. I mean, he started this aerodrome. He was the one that put it all together. We've been fortunate enough to be a part of it, and to carry on his work is a real honor for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, he's definitely the motivator behind this project. And we have his beret in the airplane, so, with the wings on it.
Yeah, little Spandau Air Force wings. Nice touch, right? That really is. How about the Wright whirlwind engine? We'll talk about that a little bit. Number one, the name of that engine alone, Wright and Whirlwind. I mean, that was in 1927, right? That was the best engine available, certainly in this country.
Well, that's when Lindbergh's flying the mail at night. It's kind of boring, I guess, and you're just thinking all these different things. And of course, that ORT prize for $25,000 was out there and claimed. And Lindbergh had been reading, or he heard about the Wright whirlwind being on a test stand for 150 hours straight. He said, wow, that could be the engine. For its time, it was, you know.
And so far, it's sounds beautiful to us on the ground. It's flies beautifully in the air as well.
Yeah, it's got to get broken in yet. It's still running a little rich. I think the carburetor is not tweaked to perfection, but it's running pretty good.
I have to take advantage of the opportunity to ask you questions about somebody who knows, number one, the history of Lindbergh and the flight, and somebody who knows the aircraft so well. What were some of the things about the actual transatlantic flight that stand out to you as an engineering feat, the particular skill of one man and one pilot to do it? Do you ever really think about that? What Lindbergh must have felt, or just what stands out as the biggest accomplishment to you as somebody who knows the spirit so well for the 30 plus hours in the air nonstop, New York to Paris?
Staying awake,
Yeah.
that was the only problem he had. So when he got to Paris, he had been awake for over 50 hours.
Right.
And
The night before.
everything else he had
Yeah.
planned out, pretty good. All the, the technical ends of it, navigation, and of course the construction of the airplane and everything. So. But I think his lack of sleep was, and in his book he said 2 hours into the flight he was already getting tired.
Yeah.
So,
Just before you hit Nova Scotia.
yeah.
I read that last night. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you find it physically demanding just to keep it going in a straight line? I mean, is it?
Oh yeah,
control
yeah.
so you're
It
constantly-
wants to wander off, especially in the turning bank.
I'm just thinking that, if you're flying it for 15 minutes or so, multiplying that by
Take two.
whatever it takes to get to 33 hours, I can imagine that really be taxing.
Well, there was no guarantee that he would take off when he did either. Basically waiting for the weather to clear.
Well, they were scheduled to go to a play, to see the Broadway play Rio Rita, but on the way to the play they stopped at the Weather Bureau, and the forecaster said it's going to be clearing, and so they went back to the hotel and he tried to get some sleep, but he didn't.
It's quite a feat. Quite a feat. Supporters of the Old Rhinebeck Aerodrome in general, supporters of the Spirit Project, and just everybody who has supported us and what we do here over the years. It's an opportunity to say thanks.
Yeah.
That's a big thanks to an
Yeah.
awful lot.
That's right.
Definitely.
I mean, the
Thanks.
support and enthusiasm over the years, and times we were a little bit rough around here. Everybody persevered, and in the end, it all came to fruition because of an awful lot of people.
Definitely.
Well, it couldn't have been done without all the donations and support. It certainly couldn't have been done
Definitely.
without Ken Cassens constructing the airplane. And he had some mighty fine help with him, but
Yeah, we had a lot of help.
you were the spark plug for that one.
A lot of the guys aren't here now, but
Yeah.
Larry Potter, it was Cole, of course. But,
It had to be done.
yeah. Everybody that we can think of that worked on the airplane signed a spar, signed their name on the spar, and then the names of the guys that aren't here are printed on the, Tom put them on the spar, so Cole, Rita, Larry Potter, and
A lot of them.
quite a few people. So it was a group effort, and we got a lot of good products donated. We couldn't have done it without all those people. So,
Thanks to the good weather that we had that you mentioned earlier, and Ken's ability to get the airplane flying in time, the flight time he's been able to put on it, making him comfortable with it, has opened the doors for us to have this big event
Right.
that we're planning in May.
Right.
On the 89th anniversary of Lindbergh's flight.
Yeah.
May 21st.
Right. Putting together the gala to unveil the Spirit for the first time to the public. We ask everybody's continued support. Please check the website often. We'll be posting events as plans get finalized. Just thanks again for everybody for being here, and thanks for your support. And we'll see you later from Old Rhinebeck.
We'll be here.
Bye.
It must be really nice to have had a co-pilot like Cole Palen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he helped me through the first landing. I asked for his advice. But, yeah, he's watching over all of us here, I think, so.
Lucky Lindy up in the sky, said old Windy, he's flying high. Fearless, fearless, knows every cloud, the kind of a sun makes a mother feel proud. Lucky Lindy rides all alone, in a little plane of his own. Lucky Lindy shows them the way, and he's the hero of the day.
Members and volunteers are needed at the Old Rhinebeck Aerodrome, so head on over to oldrhinebeck.org.